You're listening to the Franchise Freedom Podcast with Giuseppe Grammatico.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, the show where we help corporate executives experience time and financial freedom via franchising. Thanks for joining us today. We have a really different show today. We're going to give some examples of two recent families that we helped recently explore franchises, and I'm going to keep their information confidential because that's what we do here. But wanted to give you an example of kind of what goes on behind the scenes with our conversations and a consultation, and I think it'll answer a lot of questions people may have around the entire franchise process. And and what I did was I picked a family that was not a good fit right off the bat, and then a family that was a good fit, and I'll explain the differences why. So I intentionally picked the two just to kind of give you an idea, and then maybe you can figure out which you kind of area you fall in. But I encourage everyone, and I'm going to put my information here on the screen, that let's have a chat. So even after listening to these conversations or checking out the website or other shows, let's chat. I guarantee in 20 minutes you'll walk away learning something new, but we'll figure out together if a franchise may or may not be a good fit. And if it is a good fit and we need to put together a plan for better timing, whether that's financials or leaving a job or things like that, we put together custom plans for everyone we work with. So really exciting stuff. So I'm going to remove that here. So we are going to dive in today, and I thought, with a lot of the questions that we get daily, as we're talking to new people every single day, every single week, I thought I'd record this, document it, and something I can share with someone that is on the fence or not ready to have a phone call. That's the point of the show. The point of the show is that you can watch this at your leisure. Some people work the night shift. Some people work long hours. They're just not ready to chat. They can just pull up one of these recordings. And, if you think of someone else that could benefit from any of these shows, feel free to share. Share the recording, forward it to them, even if it's to one person. We really appreciate that. It helps with exposure. And, definitely want to educate and level the playing field when it comes to knowledge as much as possible. So let's dive in today. So example number one, and again, we keep everyone's information confidential, but we work with a young couple, starting out, young family, Tom and Jill. And right off the bat, I like to ask, what is their why? Why, what are they looking to accomplish by owning a business? And they were very, very, and I don't know what the right word, maybe a little bit nervous on that first phone call, but they wanted to create a legacy. And I said, well, what exactly does that mean? And really, after we dug deep, it was really to, spend time with the family. They had they were recently married, young family. And, looking at that legacy was something to where it gave them the opportunity, to spend time, have the financials there as well to be able to afford to travel and do things, but also as an option to create that legacy, whether it be wealth as well as pass on the business to their two small children. So, which is great. We spend a lot of time on the why because we want to make sure we have a good understanding and not just, I want to make more money, which is great, but there's more to it. Then we followed up and said, hey, you got two options when it comes to owning a business. It's a startup or following an existing system, whether it's a license or a franchise, and are you okay running with that system? And they were on board. And then we dove deep into a lot of things. Their skill set, what they were good at, what they enjoyed doing in their recent roles, other businesses maybe they have explored in the past. We took a look at what ideally just what the average day looked like. We look at role, but just the average day. And we also took a step back and said, who's really going to at the end of the day be involved? And I applaud Tom and Jill because they were both on the call, husband and wife, two people that obviously are going to be involved in the business. And really, Tom was going to be running the business, and Jill was really going to be there to support when needed. But it is great to have everyone that's affected on that call, because it's good to know what to expect from a business, from the role, what an average day looks like, realizing that, mom and dad for the kids are going to be spending a lot more time initially to get the business up and running, to create that time and financial freedom. So we spent a lot of time there. We spent time as where they're located. We spent time looking at the employee count. They wanted something that had a smaller number of employees and less to manage, and no retail. They wanted to be working from home. And we spent a lot of time, by the way, in the consultations talking about the difference between a brick and mortar. Essentially, the time to open with a lot of brick and mortar can be 6 to 12 months, just say on average. Again, averages, so many variables at play. And then, working from home where no brick and mortar, you can use your home office, maybe a small office outside the home. Some of these businesses are open in as little as 1 to 3 months. We got into financials, and that's where, we have on our website, typically, you want to look at 50,000 liquid and 100,000 net worth. The liquid is readily accessible funds, cash, savings, investments, non-retirement. The net worth factors in the retirement accounts, the equity you have in the home, so the value of the home minus the mortgage. And in their case, the numbers are a little bit light, along with a credit score, which was not ideal. So just like I do with everyone, we had them speak with our funding partner, and our funding partner put together a strategy. So we really, we accomplished a lot. We figured out franchise is a great fit for them. We figured out together this is something that they want to tackle, as well. Potentially leave their job, whether it be full time or part time. We're still on the fence figuring that part out, but putting together a strategy to say, from our funding partners, that we need to get the credit score up. I think it was up to at least 680, 700 range. And, the net worth and liquidity bumped that up from 30,000 to 50,000, I believe was the liquidity. The net worth actually was in line. So putting together a plan, and not just saying franchise isn't a good fit, but putting together a plan saying, okay, we checked off all these boxes. Why don't you work with that funding partner? Two different things, right? Getting some additional liquidity as savings, and then getting the credit score up. Two different things they had to work on. Why don't you focus there? Continue following the show, and let's touch base in 3 months and see where you're at. And then in 3 months, if the timing isn't there, maybe the score is up, but the liquidity isn't there, let's touch it. Let's touch base again in 3 months. So by putting together that strategy, we're putting together this path to say, okay, yes, I am ready. I'm mentally ready. I'm ready to leave the job, but just the financials aren't there. And each franchise has different requirements, financial requirements, when it comes to the finances. So let's put together a path and utilize the funding partner, myself, and touch base and see how things are going. And if things improve sooner, we can talk sooner. But by doing that, you have that clear path and you have something to aim for, as opposed to I just have to get it up. In 90 days, let's do everything we can. As soon as we get off this phone, let's figure out how to repair that credit and increase the score, how to increase the liquidity, where it comes from, working overtime, a second job, part-time job on the side, or cutting back expenses. It can be done either way. It can even be maybe getting a loan from somebody or a partner in the business, or other ways. So my point is that we will help you every step of the way. So if you feel like your funding situation needs improvement, I encourage anyone to reach out, and we'll work with you to figure out a plan. So looking forward to down the road giving an update on Tom and Jill and the family, but very excited to hear what's to come, and working with them here in the near future. Second example was Sarah. And Sarah was someone that really hated her job, was looking to get out of the job ASAP. And that was one where we kind of took a pause, and I asked for the why, and she said she hated her job. And I said, well, yes, that's definitely the case with many people, but what are we looking to accomplish here? And really what it came down to is she was looking for purpose. She wanted something that offered meaning, could be done with a job, but she really wanted to something that offered purpose and meaning, that did good for the community, that, where she was able to grow it and make some money as well, but also doing good with the community. So we spent a little bit more time on that area, making sure that a business as well as a franchise was a good fit. In her case, Sarah had the financials. We spent a lot of time, figuring out a skill set. And in Sarah's case, she was a natural salesperson. But what was interesting was when I asked the question, okay, you are a natural salesperson, you have all these accolades, you've done extremely well, but what is the role you want to take on in the business? And she said, I actually prefer hiring a salesperson and really kind of overseeing the business, the KPIs, making sure we're hitting our numbers, going to the Chamber of Commerce events, being an advocate really for the brand. And I found that interesting. So hating the job, I always say the grass isn't always greener. We want to make sure we understand what a business truly is. Business is a lot of work. There's an investment, there's a risk involved. But if you're open to following the system and you're open to, the other side of the time and financial freedom, plus all the 5 freedoms we talked about, we're not going to go through them today, from Dan Sullivan on a previous episode. Franchise could be a good fit. Spoke with a funding partner, was a great match in her case for an SBA loan. And then after finding out that she is, potentially going to be leaving her employer, that opened up the idea of using her retirement assets and using a ROBS plan, a retirement rollover business startup, which is utilizing your retirement assets to fund the franchise. And sometimes, in her case, it's still being worked out. It's a combination of a ROBS rollover and an SBA loan. And that's why I always advise utilizing a funding partner, because they'll be able to guide you through the process, timeframes, what that looks like, how do you do them together, or should I do them in a certain order? They're able to assist, and their service as free. You only pay if you decide to move forward. So in Sarah's case, a little bit different than Tom and Jill, where they had the money out the gate, or they were pre-qualified relatively easy to get the SBA loan. But in their case, I like to spend a lot of time on the why, because if you're just assuming a business is going to be better because someone else doing really well with a particular business, I always pause and say, let's take a step back. Let's figure out the real reason for owning this, because without that why, and you hear about why and all the time, without a why, you need the why. The reason you need the why is you need a reason for doing this. And at the end of when things are going well, the why is great. But when things are not going so well, that why is what is getting you through those days, because it's cyclical. There's going to be ups and downs, whether it's a franchise or not in any business. So, utilizing the why, giving you the reason to move forward. In her case, we're exploring brands, and she wanted sense of purpose. So we've looked at brands such as a brand that we work with that is, their goal is to combat the childhood obesity epidemic, and really work with kids and make exercising fun to the point where they wake up on a Saturday morning and they're doing yoga and stretches, and they're just making it fun. Maybe they're not calling it yoga, but they're doing certain things, creating those habits, not necessarily disciplines, but habits on a daily basis, and getting them back into shape and active and off their screen. So we were able to check off the boxes. And that's the whole goal behind this, right? Is to figure out all the things you want in the business, the employees, number of employees, W-2 versus 1099, where you're located, working from home, a physical location, the city, the state, taking a look at skill sets, and not just skill sets, but your actual role in the business, the investment. What does that investment look like? The why, what you're looking for specifically in a franchisor. We hear from a lot of people that are looking for culture. You're going to experience that when speaking with the franchisor and the culture, and not just up front with the franchisor, but with the franchisees, existing franchisees, to say, hey, how's the culture? Does the franchisor do meetings and stay in touch with their franchisees? What do they do during COVID to really support their franchisees in that rough time? So you'll have access to all that information, but you want to do them in a certain process. You want to speak with the franchisor, gather as much information as possible and then speak with those franchisees. But my point in all this is to give examples. And, number one, don't rule yourself out. I encourage everyone, let's speak for 20 minutes and see if you're potentially a good fit in owning a franchise. And this is done together. If you feel like you're a great fit, or you're asking me questions and I'm having reservations, I'm gonna give you my reasons why. And sometimes it's a miscommunication, or we're looking at something in a different manner. So we have those conversations. It's not just this closed door yes or no. I may be in between and need a second or third call, but I'm going to supply with as much information as possible to really level the playing field and empower you to have this knowledge, this information, to be able to act upon that information and make the best informed decision. So I hope you found this helpful. Wanted to give 2 real life examples while keeping everyone's information confidential. And that's the case. I keep everyone's. I don't share information, companies people work for, names and things like that. So I appreciate it. I did speak with the families, and I mentioned we're going to be doing the episode. And they were fine with it, but here to help in any way I can. So if you're just kind of stuck, sometimes it's too much information and you need a good starting point. We could definitely help you. We can definitely help you. We helped one family. I jokingly, they were spending hundreds of hours on research, and they didn't have a why. Financially, they needed to work on that, and I said let's work on the why. We did. And that was to create very similar to Tom and Jill, to create that legacy, to really create the time and financial freedom. So we worked on the why. Funding was next, and that's still in progress. And then starting to look at brands, but don't go crazy, killing yourself, looking at every brand out there and creating charts and take into consideration new brands out there. And figure out if a business or a franchise is even a good fit before looking at the brands itself. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. But we're focusing on what we're seeing in the big publications out there. Why not just create your own little kind of one-page ideal business, from what you're doing daily to industry to roles to you name it. Starting there is a great starting point. It's the homework I give everyone I work with. So if you do that homework and call me, we'll be a step ahead, and we'll maybe dive into some other areas. But thanks again for the information, the content. Really, I use my day to day to really help people in the same boat. So I'm sure there's not just Tom and Jill and Sarah. There's, I'm sure, 1,000 other people in the exact same boat, and they don't know where to start. And that's where I can help you. So nothing to sell you aside from a 20-minute chat. You'll definitely learn something, and I'm looking forward. So I'm going to put it here again. The website, ggthefranchiseguy.com /calendar. You can check out the podcast, download my book, Franchise Freedom, listen to the show, Franchise Freedom. This is once this goes live, episode 150. So we have 150 episodes covering everything from how to sell a business, what to look for in a franchise, and everything in between. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoy your comments and questions, and look forward to chatting again very soon. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways Giuseppe can help. 1. If you've ever considered owning a business of any kind, you owe it to yourself to get a copy of Giuseppe's book, Franchise Freedom. Download your free copy at ggthefranchiseguy.com/book. 2. Want to understand how successful executives make the transition from corporate to owning their own franchise? Join Giuseppe's next online presentation, Franchise Freedom: How to Escape the Corporate World and Have Financial and Time Freedom by Owning a Franchise, by going to ggthefranchiseguy.com/video. 3. Want to work with Giuseppe one-on-one to identify the right franchise opportunity for you, to navigate the process, and get plugged into experienced franchising advisors? Send him an email to gg@ggthefranchiseguy.com with one-on-one in the subject, and he'll send you all the details.